All right. Okay. So in our last discussion, which was, I think, was it 2 weeks ago already? Or was it last week? It was last week. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because if it was 2 weeks ago, I would really feel like I was losing my mind. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go over some of the themes that we started extracting. So Sam, you had talked about wanting to prioritize working too much and making space for what you really want to do and setting boundaries and having more balance. And we talked about, do you remember we talked about chasing that high that is sort of the never-ending high of right, wanting to get other people's validation. And we talked about having you start to lean into a new thought, which hopefully would turn into a new belief that you already are whole and you already are enough and you don't need to prove anything. And then Megan, we talked about stress and burnout, and that your automatic mind, your automatic beliefs talk about saying the wrong thing or doing it wrong, and that you often feel like you don't matter, you're not important, you're invisible. And you had talked about a vision of being more comfortable managing high performing individuals in I think in the hospital that you work at, and that you wanted to be able to speak up more and lead and guide along with the powerful individuals that you're serving. Is there anything else? So I just want to check in and see, is there anything that you've thought about since our last session? Have you kept anything about what we talked about last week? Have you thought about it since last week? And if you haven't, it's okay for both of you.
I've definitely thought about it, but I don't know how to stop being on autopilot sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like I'll remember it and it'll be like, oh, I need to remember to think that way and do those things. But it's really hard for me to, like, in the last 48 hours, I feel so stressed. And I just don't know how to, not turn it off, but be aware enough to know that those inner critic thoughts are coming in. It's hard for me just to split it and really take a moment to give myself breathing room, because I just feel like I'm working so much that I'm not being present, I guess. You know what I mean?
I do. I'm just taking some notes here. Okay, so let's start there. Okay. And Megan, as I'm sort of talking with Sam, I'm going to be kind of extracting things, right, for you to pay attention to as well. So, Sam, first, let's just start with what is making you feel so stressed?
Yeah. So right now I just have a lot going on. I have two businesses. So I have my marketing firm that I have, and then I have an e-commerce shop that I own, and then I have a podcast. So it's I have 3 different things that I'm working on, and I'm also in the midst of moving right now, and I just feel chaotic. This afternoon I have showings for my place. The rental market right now is a shit show here in Chicago, is an absolute shit show. I'm not in a place right now where I feel ready to buy. So I just feel chaotic. I don't know how else to say it. I just feel it's chaos, and there's no way, all of these things have to happen. So I guess how do I do it without making myself feel bad?
I don't know. Okay. So let me just try and break this down a little bit more. You said all of these things have to happen. Okay. Can we just kind of get specific about exactly what has to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think so last week when we were talking, like when I was in the corporate world, and this is like no shade to you, Megan, like at all, because coming from the corporate world, it was so nice to just like get a check. I just don't have that luxury right now. So like if I don't work, I don't get paid. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's a much different mindset than, it's not like I'd ever want to stop working, but like, it's a much different mindset than, like Megan obviously has like
Yeah.
different things that she's working.
Like you don't have a PTO bank.
Yeah, I
like,
don't have a
sitting
PTO
there
bank.
to pay yourself to take a day off.
Yeah, but I'm also not managing the like scale of people that Megan, like it's like different challenges, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so it's tough because I'm like, well, if I don't get work done, then I just don't get paid. You know what I mean? And it's like, if I don't hunt for new clients, then I don't get paid. Like, oh, so much of my lifestyle like is on me. And I don't regret it being that way, but it just
Yeah.
requires a lot of stuff that needs to be initiated from me. So when I say like has to get done, it's like no one else is going to do it. So it has to get
Right.
done.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So now here's the thing. All right. And Megan, we can look at this through the context of your responsibilities and right. And the places that you want to get to, right, in your corporate career. All right. So there is going to be no arrival point,
I
right?
know that's the hard part too. It's like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
then I'm just like,
Yeah.
sledding downhill and the hill is just not ending.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So here is the issue. And this is an issue that affects us. I mean, culturally. All right. We are led to believe that, I mean, from the time that we're little itty bitty, we're led to believe that everything in life is about, you got to work hard, you got to push, you got to go for it, you got to make shit happen. Okay. Now, I wholeheartedly know that action is what creates results, right? You cannot get results in your life without taking action. Does that make sense? Okay. However, taking action for 12 hours a day versus taking action for, let's say, 5 hours a day, 12-hour action does not produce more results than 5-hour action. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It makes sense, but I don't know if I'm like not inclined to agree, only because I feel like I need the 12 hours to like fully get done what I need to get done.
Right. Okay. So let's just kind of get an elevated view here about what we say we have to get done. Okay. And what we put on ourselves to say have to, right? Because there are some beliefs, right, underlying here that, okay, so just try this on, and you might disagree with me. And then if you do disagree with me, I want you to disagree with me. Okay. But there's some have to in order to. I have to do all of these things in order to produce that result. Now, in your business, okay, in how your business has unfolded, do you find that it's like slow, and then all of a sudden something happens out of nowhere? Like, oh my gosh, like somebody unexpected came into my business, or somebody said, I was referred to you from here, I found you here. Does this make sense? Okay. So if you think about it, you do what you do, right? You take this action and then you take this action and then you take this action, right? You string all of those together, and the ripple effects of those actions permeate out into the universe, kind of, right? And you kind of have no idea where they go. They go somewhere, right? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So very often it's like we do, and then things happen in our business. And then we think, well, I gotta keep doing more and more and more and more and more to make more of that come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the problem. If you are right, so there's doing in your business, and then there's doing in your relationship with yourself, and then there's doing in your relationship with the people that matter the most to you. And then there's doing in your relationship to your body. And there's doing in relationship to your health. And there's doing in relationship to, I don't know, God, the universe, right? If that's right. There's all these different like things that are equally as important in designing the overall way that life unfolds. Okay. And the way that we think automatically is, well, all that other shit has to go to the right. I can't do all of that other stuff.
Yeah. Like the brain capacity is limited, really.
That's
Yeah.
right. Right. And I just want to suggest, okay, that one of the things that perhaps you've never really experimented with is, how will my business go if I am structuring my day so that I am working on my business, because we've got to take the actions in our business, right? But that I'm looking at my experience of my whole life, right? So that the actions that I take in my business are equally as important as the actions I take in my doing what I need to do to take care of myself, or connecting with friends. Or do you have a significant other?
No.
Okay.
I maybe someday, but not right now.
Right, but
I
not
just
right
I'm
now.
like so tunnel vision on things, I mean, really. It's true.
Okay. Right. So this is what happens. This is a very old, toxic way of doing life, right? Where someday I'm going to reach an arrival point where I can have all the things that I want, but right now, nope, I'm not making any room and space for any of it. I'm just busting my ass because I've got to make this shit happen. And yet, if you actually get an elevated view of how your business has gone, I'm not saying, right, we've got to take action, but the results, it's not necessarily a linear, this action produces that client. Does that make sense? And so there are a lot of women, particularly women business owners, that live a life of stress and burnout and overwhelm and lack of fulfillment and frustration, and literally make themselves emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually unwell. Does this make sense to you? Yeah. What are you, what's showing up for you?
I'm just gonna close my door. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
It does make sense. It just makes me emotional because they are things that I want, but it's like I wait to get to a certain point. So it's like I'm just waiting to like hit a point where I'm like, yep, once I'm there, we're good.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And so then
I
life,
laugh at the fact that I'm like also knowing that it's never gonna hit a point too. So it's like I also acknowledge that.
you know,
It needs
so
like
we,
interference.
we know it intellectually.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. And this is really great that this is showing up. Okay. We develop, I might have talked about this last week, so I can't remember if I did. Did I talk about winning strategies? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Megan, are you seeing yourself in this conversation?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. I just want,
I mean, even though I have a PTO bank, I struggle.
Yeah.
I struggle to actually take time off, and like maybe I even actually put the hours in there, but like, was I actually off, or was I scrolling email? Did I call into a meeting? Did I check in on the team? Like it's gotten easier over the time that I've worked with Maria, but yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we develop what we could say are, I'm going to put this in air quotes, winning strategies to how we think we can get life to turn out. Okay. And unfortunately for all of us, we learn these winning strategies when we're very, very little. Okay. So it's actually, in other words, the very thing that you decided a long time ago, that's the key to my success, got you success for a long time. Right. I'm taking a guess here, Sam, and I could be wrong. Okay. But this go-getter, I've got to produce, I've got to make shit happen, I've got to like burn the candle at both ends. I would imagine has been with you on some level for much of your life.
Yes.
Okay.
My mom is here right now. She just walked in because she's helping me like move stuff before I have these showings this afternoon. And she'll tell you from when I was like a child, I would be like 3-sport athlete, like just exhaust myself.
Right.
So it's like been ingrained in me. And then also in the corporate world too. And I'm sure Megan probably feels the same way. It's like you equate like working harder with like getting a bonus too. So like when I was in the corporate world, I remember like crying when I got my bonus because I was so exhausted in my like literally in like my like last job. Like I remember my boss, and like I remember being like rewarded for it. Like you've worked so hard, like you've earned this. And they would like, my boss would like slide me the piece of paper that would have my bonus on it. And she'd be like, I went to bat for you to like get you this bonus. And so it was almost like reaffirming that like, oh, if you do that, if you make some sacrifices, then you get the big bucks, like you get the pat on the back. So then it's like, there's never been anything that like has rewarded me otherwise. So it's just really easy to see that and be like, yep, of course.
That's right. That is spot on. So the very thing that you decided a long time ago, this is who you need to be successful, right? Which again, started in early childhood, just keeps getting reinforced, right? Gets reinforced by teachers. It gets reinforced. I mean, it's like the air we breathe, right? Like, yeah, I mean, even in the entrepreneurial world, it's like, you got to work hard and you got to bust your ass and right? So it's so bankrupt. Bless you. And yet, because it worked once, right? At one point in our life, it worked. We keep doing it the same way. And you've heard this before. Definition of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. right? So it is no accident that you guys are in a program called, this is called Burnout to Boss.
Also, the funny thing is Megan referred me to this too. So like Megan and I go way back from college.
Okay.
And it's just funny because Megan was like my savior because we were at a wedding talking about this. And I was like if it weren't for Megan, I wouldn't be getting the help, honestly, because like I just would never talk about it really.
That's right. You would just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So it's really unfamiliar, uncharted territory to start actually believing that you could work less, right? Still work hard, but work less and still produce the same or better results for yourself in your business, right? That's like a foreign concept for you, right?
I mean, for me, yeah. Megan, how do you feel about that? Like in this, the like situation that you're in with your team?
I've come a long way. I mean, I think it's, I mean, I've been working with Maria for almost 2 years on this. And when I started working with her, I was like, I'm quitting. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm going to give it 6 more months just because like I have to. And then like, I'm finding my way out.
Yes.
I am, it's still hard. And like, I still have to work at it every day, but I actually like the things that like Maria and Joanna are talking about. I'm sort of like, oh my God, it's like happening. Like I am working less than I ever have. And I am making an impact. Like I think about like the way I was working the first year I was in this job and how I was working all the time. But when I think about like what I produced for the organization during that time period, it was like one big initiative. And I just pulled out, like, we just did like 2, not that this like matters, like how many, but we just launched 2 programs last week and like, actually sort of like 2.5. And we go fiscal year to fiscal year. So these were things that were like, this was on track for like, need to be completed by August 31st. And it's April. And at the same time, something really interesting happened where we're in this like transition period where we used to have a nanny for 9 hours a day, which was like great. And like we were delegating tons of things to her. We've transitioned out of a nanny, but like we can't find a like all day preschool for my son. So suddenly since March, my childcare now ends at 4 every day. And I previously had childcare till 5:30, and then my husband and I would switch off. So like 2 nights a week, I could like work till midnight if I wanted to, you know, but now David's traveling and childcare ends at 4. And I thought it was going to be like I was like bracing myself for like, this is going to be the worst month ever. And what I realized was that like, no, I've been like working towards this. And like, I actually can end my day at 4, which I feel like I'm like cheating something. Like, I feel like I'm like cheating the system.
Yeah.
So it takes time though. And it's still, I mean, I still go through periods where I'm like, whoa, I like way overdid it there. And like, I need to like scale back a little bit, or I like sort of start to creep back into like my old patterns.
Yeah. But see, the thing that I'm hearing in what you're saying, Megan, is that, right? So those old patterns are always there. Okay. But what is different is that you're very conscious of a different vision for yourself. Right now, there could be, right, I want to be spending time with my son, right? There might have been things that forced that vision to come into reality, like, well, the daycare ends at 4 and I don't have to, right? Listen,
we're still asking them like, can you just, what about 4:30? How about 4:30?
Right. So the universe operates in mysterious ways, right? The things that are like, holy shit, how am I going to be able to do this? Right. All of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this might've been the biggest blessing, right? Because now I've got this different way of seeing how I can do things, And Megan, for you, I'm wondering, in all of this work that you've been doing with yourself, if rather than what maybe used to be your automatic focus when you were younger, before you became a mom, let's say, okay, when it was just you with you, that perhaps your focus automatically, without even, knowing that you're doing it, is out there. I've got to produce that result. I've got to get them to think I'm worthy. I've got to get, something in that arena, that the focus was outer focused for you, do you think?
Yeah. I think too about like, because I've had 2 kids, and like the things that I was working on in the period where I had this like a literal due date. I remember just like working really hard and being like, everything has to be done like before like the baby comes, because then like life ends and like I don't know what's gonna happen, and um and then when I like came back after my second son, I remember being like, okay, I can't work at that pace anymore. And like also for what, like I don't have an actual due date. Like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna work at this pace for the next 30 years? Cause like there is no, not that maternity leave was like a break, but like there is no sort of like end in sight.
Yeah.
Like the end is like every day at 4. Like I worked really hard and then I'm done and I take a break. And then I'll show up the next day and like I'll work really hard again and then I stop. Because I struggle, like Sam, like because I remember like in college you were also a really busy person, and I just like don't have that much energy. Like even in college I'd be like, well, I'm tired and the final exam is tomorrow, and like what I know, like I'm going to bed. So if anything, like my sort of thought would be like, well, if I can't get it done in like the time period that like my physical body allows me to do it, then like maybe I just need to give up. You know what I mean? Like I've chosen the wrong thing for myself, because like I'm just not capable of working 100 hours a week. I almost can never force myself to like do it, because I like actually just like I'm not like a super high energy person to start with, and yeah.
But I also relate to that too, though.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, because like I have this like vision of what I could be. So like it's like this like standard that I hold myself to. But like I'm someone who like would thrive with like 6-hour work days, because I know like I'll still get stuff done within a 12-hour work day, but like I'm just not as effective either. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my energy like runs out. I just can't produce after a certain amount of time.
Yeah. So Sam, you just said something that I think is really important to hit upon. Okay. Just said the vision of what you could be. Okay. So
now I'm like, I regret saying that.
But you said it,
right? I know. It was like an honest truth, but yes.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful that came out of your mouth. Okay. Because what you're illuminating, okay, which is again, something that, we've been taught culturally, all right, that life is about getting there. Okay. So if you look at where your mind is the majority of the time, the automatic mind, okay, not right. We're talking about the difference between the automatic mind that thinks for you, and how are we going to consciously and intentionally think in a way that's in alignment with a different vision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, okay. So like some of the things, Megan, that you said that are in alignment with a different vision is, I need to honor my body. Okay. Let's say, right. The part where like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough and I don't have what it takes. Like, but right. That's probably a little bit of the automatic mind, right? But the intentional mind, even back in college, said, you know what? I need my sleep. I need to take care of myself, right? You see, that's a thought that just that thought has you focus your attention in a different direction, right? It's a very different thought than I got to get to that arrival point. I got to get right. I got to make that happen. I got to get them to think something, right? Again, also having children forces you to have your thoughts go in a different direction. Okay. But here's the thing. You don't need to have children or be a mom to, right? Because you could have your relationship with yourself be as sacred and important and valuable as a mother might with, well, I've got to be there for my child. No, I got to be there for myself. I've got to honor and love and value myself. Okay. So the thing to start to pay attention to, Sam, okay, and Megan, I think you're further ahead in the game of this, simply because I think you've just been building the muscle of consciously directing your thoughts and your beliefs and your energy towards, right, the vision of balance and right, flow and peace and joy, right? So you've been, and that's the thing, that Sam, what I want you to understand is that this is not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a moment by moment, glimpse by glimpse, tiny little, I'm going to take this step towards that and this step, right? And then over time, right, Megan can now look back and go, holy shit, I'm actually like living a very different life than I did, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right?
This is bringing back like so many reminders of different things that used to like really stress me out. Like I used to, because before I moved to the director role, I was a clinician, and like they work 3 days a week, and like the shift starts at 6 a.m. So like you're up at 5, but like you're only doing it 3 days. And I remember when I moved to a job that was like administration 5 days a week, I would like wake up and feel like, oh my gosh, I'm behind. And it was like 7 a.m. I'd be like, the team has already been working for an hour. And I'm laughing about it now because I'm like, now I usually don't start my workday until 9, and I almost never think that I'm behind when I'm getting started at 9. And I am like, not that this matters, but like I work 5 days a week. Like I'm working more like 40 hours. They're working 36 hours. Like it's just totally different model, but it stayed with me. And I was always feeling like in the morning, like I'm way behind. And it would like ruin the time in the morning with my kids. It like make drop off at school super stressful. And for what? I don't know. I wasn't behind. Was I going to start work at 6 a.m. every day for 5 days of the week and also work till 7 p.m. like my old clinical schedule?
Wow.
That'd be crazy.
That's right. That's
But
right.
I'm just being reminded of all these old things that I had to work through.
And Megan, I'm also wondering if you can speak to, like, so since you've been creating more boundaries and focusing on what really works for you and really designing a life that supports you, not just in your job, but outside of your job, and as a mom, and right, as a woman, and right, all of those things. Do you find that everything, including inside of your career, works better?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like all of that like internal like ruminating and like mess that like your mind makes about like running late or something like really simple. That would just like take all of my energy, like all of my like creative thinking. And I would show up sort of already feeling like, I would sort of joke like, I already lived an entire life before I got here, like, because I've like just taken care of the kids, like, blah, blah, blah. Like I've already done an entire work day before I even got to work. And now I feel it's like much easier. I mean, kids are always still sort of a challenge in the morning, but having like, this is like, there was no space for any of that. Like all those things in my mind was sort of saying.
Yeah. I think that what happens is that when you continue to operate in the model that you've been operating in, essentially your brain and your body are stuck in fight, flight, freeze. Right? It's like everything is an emergency, right? So there's like all these, right? I mean, from a biological standpoint, there's like all these, chemicals that are surging through, right? And your adrenals are fatigued. I'm not, that's not my area of expertise, but what I can tell you is that when you're in fight, flight, freeze, you don't have the ability to access other parts of your brain, right? That are responsible for creativity and problem solving and innovation. So it feels like everything is just one big emergency because that's the only part of your brain that you're using to navigate your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
I mean, I feel like lazy if it's not an emergency. Like the break, like doing that for myself, it's like I'll do it, then I'll be like, I could be so much more productive right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got to start having you dig underneath where that belief first originated from. Because like you said, it's been with you since you've been, I mean, I'm going to guess 5.
Yeah.
So
And
here's
like when you think about 5, it's like, oh, it's like, yeah.
Now here's the other crazy thing, guys. So when we start really recognizing, well, where did I first decide that this is the way that you're supposed to think, and this is the way that you're supposed to act, and this is the way that you're supposed to produce results, and this is the life you're supposed to be living, right? We really start looking at, holy shit, like, I'm realizing that I've been doing this for forever. We get stuck at that age. Okay. So in many ways, the way that you're navigating life is through the lens of a little girl. Because that's when you decided that your worthiness is all about busting your ass and showing other people that you're, important or, worthy or something. Is this hitting home for you? Yeah. So, and I would imagine that, and you're hearing it from me and you're hearing it from Megan, right? And I can tell you that I used to have, that is absolutely how I used to operate my life. Okay. And that is exactly what led me to create the mind method and create the Mastering Your Mind program, because first and foremost, I needed it for myself, because I couldn't operate the way that I was operating, and the ripple effect, right? Of, with everything, my children, my marriage, my health, it was just, yeah. So Megan, Sam, sorry. What if you started to put certain things in your life as a priority? What are you afraid would happen?
I don't know. I'm trying not to let my mom hear me cry. That's why I'm like trying to be quiet.
Why can she not hear you cry?
She won't know that I am. I think she's just very sensitive to how stressed I am. So I don't want her to like take it on. Do you know what I mean?
I do. But again, that look at that, even right there. I'm not allowed to have the emotions that are showing up because I've got to take care of her emotions over mine, even though she's a grown ass woman. And do you see how it's part of the whole?
Yeah.
Everybody else's experience, emotions, their happiness, their experience of me, the way they see it is more important than me. Can you see how a little girl would think that? Right? A little girl absolutely would think, I've got to make sure everybody else thinks well of me and is happy with me and thinks I'm a rock star, or else there's something wrong with me and I'm not okay and I'm not enough. And so it is so perfect that all of this is bubbling up. Right? And Megan, I wonder if you can relate to this. I certainly had to get to a level of pain where I had to like literally look in the mirror and say, like, something's got to give. I can't keep doing this. Right. And so if we keep shoving that down and operating on top of it, right, it's like, there's like, you've probably heard this before, right? But like the pebble hits you upside the head and you're like, oh, I'm fine. Right. And then you get the brick and you're like, okay, that hurt a little bit, but I'm good. Right? You do not want the building falling on your head before you wake up. So it's perfect that it's perfect that you're so stressed. I know it doesn't feel good. I know it feels like shit.
Yeah.
Right. So Megan, from your journey, right? Because I would imagine, Megan, that you can see parts of your old self that you've, right, that have melted away over time, right? That have like slowly disintegrated. What is there anything that comes to mind that you can share with Sam about your experience with all of this?
Yeah. I was thinking about sort of like I don't know if it was like totally a breaking point, but eventually I just got to a point where I was like, sort of like, F it. Like it wasn't necessarily like coming from a place of kindness, but I basically was just like, I don't care anymore. I don't care about like if my team is successful. I don't care if people are happy. Like I kind of had to like start there just so I could even like unhook myself and like get some distance from it. And then after I had some sort of like time away from it, I feel like I was able to sort of like more maturely or at like a deeper level sort of think about things. And like I think what I really had to do, which actually this is something that like me and my husband got to do together because we moved a year ago, and it was like moved to a bigger house. It's California, it's super expensive. It was a really scary like home purchase for us, but it sort of aligned with like, this is what we want for our lives, this is what we want for our kids, like this is what we want with like, has like space for like our parents to come and stay. But I remember like the first night we were there, we were like, what is the worst possible thing that could happen? Okay, we both lose our jobs and we can't pay the mortgage, and we sell the house and we move on. Like it's sort of just like if you I feel like I had to sort of like do that in so many different things, like confront like what is the worst possible thing that could happen at work. Chair of the department could decide he doesn't want me in this position anymore, and like I could get fired. and I don't know, it was sort of just like confronting like what the worst possible situation was, and then realizing that like, and then I'll do the next thing. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. The more that I sort of like looked at what the scariest thing that I thought was that could happen, the like less scary it became, or like sort of like the less power it had over me in terms of influencing what I'm going to think at 6 a.m. when I wake up, or like how I'm going to like spend my day.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like we have to let go of what is no longer working and what's no longer really serving the life that we really want to be designing, so that we can make room and make space for the exact things that we say we want to come in. Right? So you're trying, it's almost like what you don't realize is that you think you're taking all these actions and living this life to get you to this vision. But the exact actions that you're taking, the exact actions are perfectly in alignment with the opposite that you say you want. Does this make sense? So Megan's pointing to the letting go, right? Allowed her to see, okay, what, right? Right. And what I hear you saying, Megan, is that your biggest vision, I think, was about your own inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, actually, it's like something that's really important to me. I don't know if I've ever actually like thought about like that, but yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, Sam, if you're somebody that has been conditioned for your whole life to only focus on everybody else, my mom has to be happy, my clients have to be happy, my bank account has to be happy, you know, like if it's all externally driven, you disappear. There's not even any room to say, what do I need? Does this make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So, and Megan, I love that you, I think it sounds like you might have just seen for yourself that that's like a really important value for you is your inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, had you,
I mean, I like know that because like, I think, I can't remember which group I shared it with, but like, I love the Enneagram and I'm a 9. It's the peacemaker. Like that is like it. But I had never like considered like why. I mean, I just knew I had to like change certain things just because like, you know, my body felt horrible. Like I was going to quit my job, like all these sort of things. But I don't know that I've ever really pinpointed like exactly what it was that I was like needing in order to like continue on in this position.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. I'm a 7. And 7s are very much about like, what's next?
Yeah.
I want the next.
It's my husband. So we're an interesting combination.
Oh, interesting.
Do you know what you are, Sam?
Yeah, I'm a 4. I'm split between like a 4 and a 7, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Right.
sometimes I've like taken it and it says I'm a 4 and then it'll say I'm a 7. And sometimes when I read the description of a 4, I'm like, this is depressing. Like,
oh, I feel like 4s and 7 are, I can't remember how they're connected, but because David's sister is a 4, and I feel like it's like a very similar environment that you were raised in that sort of influences the same like viewpoint. Yeah.
It's interesting. Right. So the thing to manage, right? And right, I guess we could say if the 4 and the 7 are connected, the thing to manage is the recognition that automatically your mind is conditioned to keep looking to this future arrival point. And then life is passing you by because you're only using this very moment as the stepping stone to get to there, and there never comes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so even just ground, right. Like Megan's, you know, what Megan is, you know, kind of illustrating from her journey is so super important, right? It's just really about even the practice of getting present to, I want balance. Maybe just those 3 words. I want balance. Okay. And then just allowing that to emerge, right? You might not even know what that means, right? It just might be you close your eyes and you like put your energy, get your attention out of here, and you put it into your heart and into your gut. And you literally ask the question, what is the first step towards balance? First step. Could be something so tiny, but that's all you need. You don't need to know, okay, how exactly do I create balance from step 1 to step 15? No, right? You just take the very next step, right? And you kind of lean into that. How does this feel, right? So I know we don't have much time left, but Sam, I wonder if maybe even just looking at what you are saying, I have to do. And maybe asking yourself the question, is this true? I have to. I have a podcast. What if you skipped a week?
Oh, I have. But then I feel the guilt that I have is like so extreme. Like I just skipped 2 weeks because I just can't. Like, and it like really makes me feel like sometimes I'll go into the analytics and I'm like, well, that's what I get for skipping. Like,
yeah, but then there's always the next thing that you
I know.
build the analytics, right?
Yeah, totally.
But notice that, Sam, this is really important for you to recognize, okay? Your pattern is, it's an old belief, putting myself first is a bad thing. It means I'm not enough.
Well, I think it's like, it doesn't get me the results. You know what I'm saying? Like results being more, not all encompassing of the true picture, like results. Yeah.
And what if, okay, I might have said this last week, but I'm going to reiterate this again because this is really important, okay? Our results in our life get produced by our energy inside our bodies. Everything is energy. This cup is energy, okay? Like energy attracts like energy.
Mm-hmm.
2 water molecules will find each other because they are like energy. A water molecule and an oil molecule will repel, okay? Chaotic, frenetic, stressed out, overwhelmed energy creates more stress, overwhelm, frenetic, chaotic energy. It attracts people, relationships that produce that energy. Okay. Now you're used to operating this way. You've been doing it for forever, right? So this is really challenging to start to pay attention to what will support a different energy inside my body. And that's not going to come out there. It's not going to come from getting more clients. It's not going to come from making more money. It's not going to come from people thinking you're fabulous. It's not going to come from your analytics. It's not going to come from your success. It's not. Right? And this seems like a really foreign concept, but when your energy, right? Megan's a living proof of this. I'm living proof of this. Paying attention to honoring your internal energy changes the results that you're producing in every area of your life, including all of those other things that you say you want. Does it make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great conversation. I love these small groups. Yeah. All right. So what are just a couple of things that you guys are taking from the conversation today?
God, a lot. I probably need to like decompress a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the inner stuff that you just don't pay attention to. It's like
Yeah.
that's even like from last week too, the common theme, right? Is to just I think just be more self-aware, but not in the way of like just less autopilot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure. Great. Great. Megan, how about for you?
I mean, I'm thinking about like I feel like it's never done. And so like there's still other things that like I am not doing every day that like contribute to whether like this like sense of inner peace or like my definition of balance or like things that I want to be doing. And so I think I just need to sort of like lean into like what is preventing me from doing those things.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Megan, you know, I'm hoping that you're really seeing the progress, right? That like the difference in the life that you're living because you've been doing the work of
Yeah.
intentionally turning towards yourself and right and honoring your own needs.
Yeah,
and what a
I
difference.
definitely sort of appreciate that. And I think as I think back, like I feel like that even though the things when I think about what I was working on those first 6 months they seem like really tiny tweaks. It took like the longest amount of time to make those changes. And now what I've noticed, like when Marie and I have been like resetting goals, it's like a snowball. It's like all of a sudden it like starts going faster and faster and faster. Because I remember like at the beginning, like something that was really difficult for me to do was even like with my direct reports, tell them what time I'm available to meet them. I was like, I can't do that. Like they have these crazy schedules. Like I can't do that. And
Right.
that took me just like 6 months just to like set up my calendar.
Yeah.
And that now feels like that feels like such a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's like, I don't know, there's some sort of like repetition there, but like the things that I want to add on, it's like I get to them faster and faster and faster. It's like a little bit easier and easier to like keep making incremental changes.
Great. It's really great. And listen,
keep at it, Sam. Keep at it. It's hardest in the beginning, I will say. It feels really hard in the beginning because it's like totally flipping everything upside down.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah. It's like bringing things to the surface, really.
Yeah.
To the surface. If this resource would support you, right? I wrote my book, Dethroning Your Inner Critic, to really be kind of that step-by-step guide to really see a lot of this. So that, that might be a really good resource to be able to just see all of this clearly, because it never goes away. It's just putting it on the palm of your hand and seeing, oh, okay, that's not me. That's her trying to control me.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah. Great group, guys. All right. We'll see
Next
you I don't think it's next week.
Next week,
I think
the week after.
It's the week after, because next week is Passover, Easter break. So we're going to do the week after. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.